40 Iranian fast attack boats, loaded with explosives and anti-ship missiles, hiding in the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil flows through this narrow passage. Iran threatened to close it. Trap American warships, destroy commercial shipping, send oil prices through the roof. Then, a U.S. Navy destroyer entered the strait, escorted by an AC-130 gunship. Navy SEAL teams in position. Iran launched their attack. 15 minutes later, all 40 boats were destroyed. 300 Iranian Revolutionary Guard fighters dead. 0 American casualties. This is how the U.S. military turns asymmetric warfare into a turkey shoot. August 14, 2025. 4:23 a.m. Strait of Hormuz, the narrowest point, 21 miles wide. Iran to the north. Oman to the south. International waters in the middle. Through this choke point passes tankers carrying 21 million barrels of oil per day, worth approximately $1.7 billion daily. Iran had threatened to close this strait dozens of times. That night, they tried to actually do it. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy had been planning this operation for 8 months, codename Operation Hormuz Seal. The strategy was simple: mass ambush, 40 fast attack boats, Boghammer class, small craft, 32 feet long, powered by twin outboard motors, top speed 50 knots. Each boat carried 6 to 8 fighters, armed with RPG-7s machine guns. Some boats mounted 107mm rocket launchers. 5 boats carried Chinese-made C-704 anti-ship missiles. Range 22 miles, and 3 boats were packed with explosives, suicide vessels, designed to ram American warships. The IRGC staged these boats at 6 concealed positions along the Iranian coast. Small inlets, fishing villages, camouflage shelters, hidden from satellite surveillance. The boats would launch simultaneously when American warships entered the strait. Swarm from multiple directions. Overwhelm defenses through numbers. Even if 90% died, the remaining boats would inflict damage. Sink a destroyer, hit a tanker, close the strait. Prove that Iran controls this strategic choke point. That was the plan. It failed spectacularly. At 4:31 a.m., the USS Mason entered the Strait of Hormuz from the Gulf of Oman. DDG-87, Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, 9,000 tons, armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles, SM-2 and ESSM anti-air missiles, 1 5-inch gun, 2 25mm chain guns, and most importantly, the Aegis combat system. Capable of tracking hundreds of targets simultaneously, the Mason's mission was routine: freedom of navigation transit. Show the flag. Demonstrate that the strait remains open. Standard procedure. But that night was different. U.S. intelligence knew about Operation Hormuz Seal. Commander Sarah Mitchell commanded the USS Mason. 17 years naval service, 3 combat deployments. She'd been briefed 48 hours earlier. Iranian intelligence indicated mass attack planned. Exact timing unknown, but imminent. Mitchell prepared accordingly. Her crew drilled anti-swarm tactics repeatedly. Every gun crew knew their sectors. Every missile system was armed. Every sensor was optimized for small, fast-moving targets. The Mason was ready. But it wasn't alone. 20,000 feet overhead, an AC-130J Ghost Rider gunship circled in darkness. Call sign Hammer 21. This isn't a transport aircraft. It's a flying weapons platform, armed with one 105mm howitzer, one 30mm Gau-23 cannon, one 25mm Gau-12 equalizer, precision fire control, advanced targeting sensors, thermal cameras. The AC-130 can identify and engage targets in complete darkness from 3 miles away. Against small boats, it's devastation incarnate. That night, Hammer 21 would prove why the gunship earned its fearsome reputation. If you want to see how the U.S. military coordinates air and naval power to neutralize swarm attacks, subscribe to Navy Force right now. We break down combined arms operations that mainstream media won't cover. But there was a third element, one the Iranians didn't know about. 2 Navy SEAL teams, 16 operators, inserted by submarine 48 hours earlier at 4 positions along the Iranian coast. Each team carried laser designators, advanced optics, secure communications. Their mission: observe Iranian boat staging areas, provide real-time intelligence, designate targets for AC-130 strikes if necessary. The SEALs had been watching the Iranians prepare, counting boats, mapping positions, waiting. At 4:47 a.m., SEAL Team 3 reported activity at Staging Position Alpha. 6 fast boats preparing to launch, engines starting, fighters boarding. The team transmitted coordinates to the USS Mason and Hammer 21. Commander Mitchell checked her displays. The Mason was 11 miles from the staging area, within range. She ordered the ship to general quarters, all hands to battle stations. Weapons free. Rules of engagement: if Iranian boats approach aggressively, engage with deadly force. Protect the ship. Protect commercial shipping. And send a message Iran won't forget. At 4:52 a.m., the Iranian boats launched, all 6 staging areas simultaneously. 40 boats total, 293 Revolutionary Guard fighters. They accelerated to maximum speed, formed loose swarms, converged on the USS Mason from 6 different directions: north, northeast, northwest, east, southeast, south. Classic saturation attack. The IRGC commanders watched from shore, confident, eager, certain that numbers would overwhelm American defenses. They were catastrophically wrong. The USS Mason's SPY-1 radar detected the first boats at 4:53 a.m. range, 8 miles. Multiple small contacts, high speed, converging bearing. The Combat Information Center's computers analyzed the contacts, classified them as small craft. Probable hostile. Threat level: critical. Mitchell studied the tactical display. 40 contacts, coming from all directions. This was the attack intelligence had warned about. She gave the order: engage all hostile contacts. Authorization: weapons free. Lethal force authorized. But Mitchell didn't fire first. The AC-130 did. At 4:54 a.m., Hammer 21's targeting officer identified 6 boats launching from staging position Alpha. Range: 4 miles from the gunship. Clear line of sight. The aircraft commander gave the order: engage with 105 millimeters. The howitzer fired. The shell arced through darkness. GPS guided, laser designated by SEAL Team 3 on the ground. The round struck directly into the center of the boat formation. 105 millimeter high explosive. The detonation was catastrophic. 3 boats disintegrated instantly. 17 Iranian fighters killed immediately. The other 3 boats swerved wildly. Panicked. The AC-130 fired again and again. 6 rounds in 40 seconds. All 6 boats destroyed. 41 Iranians dead. 0 survivors. That was just the opening salvo. What would you do if you commanded this Iranian attack? Type A for continue the assault. Type B for retreat immediately. Comment your tactical opinion below. The remaining 34 boats continued their attack. They couldn't retreat, couldn't communicate effectively. U.S. electronic warfare jammed their radios. Each boat became an independent unit. No coordination, no command, just individual crews racing toward the Mason. Some boats were 6 miles away. Some were 4 miles. The closest were 2 miles. All were about to die. At 4:56 a.m., the USS Mason opened fire. The ship's 5-inch Mk-45 gun elevated. Automated fire control calculated solutions for multiple targets. The gun fired. 1 round every 2 seconds. Each shell GPS guided. Each targeted at a specific boat. The rounds flew, struck, exploded. Boats disintegrated, one after another. The 70-pound warheads didn't just damage the small craft. They vaporized them. 30 seconds of firing, 15 rounds, 12 boats destroyed, 96 Iranians killed. The AC-130 continued engaging from above. The 30mm GAU-23 cannon now. This weapon fires 180 rounds per minute. Depleted uranium projectiles. Against fiberglass boats, it's overkill. The gunship's targeting system locked onto a cluster of 5 boats. The 30mm gun fired. 3-second burst, 90 rounds. The boats shredded, hulls torn apart, engines exploded, bodies thrown into water. 5 boats, 38 fighters, gone in 3 seconds. The AC-130 traversed to the next target cluster, fired again, another 5 boats destroyed, then 4 more. The gunship was methodical, efficient, lethal. The Iranian boats carrying anti-ship missiles tried to get off shots. 3 boats positioned 4 miles from the Mason. Maximum range for C-704 missiles. The boat commanders ordered launch. But the missiles need targeting data. Radar lock. The boat's simple targeting systems couldn't penetrate American electronic warfare. Couldn't get clear lock. Couldn't fire effectively. The USS Mason's Aegis system detected their attempts. Flagged them as priority threats. Commander Mitchell ordered ESSM engagement. The ship's evolved Sea Sparrow missiles launched. 3 missiles, Mach 4 speed, active radar seekers. They covered 4 miles in 28 seconds. All 3 struck simultaneously. The Iranian boats carrying anti-ship missiles exploded in massive fireballs. Secondary detonations from the unfired C-704s. 23 more Iranians dead. Don't miss what happens next. The final phase of this engagement shows why suicide boats are just suicide with no tactical benefit. The 3 explosive-laden suicide boats made their final run, 2 miles from the USS Mason, 50 knots, packed with 300 pounds of explosives each. The crews were volunteers, eager for martyrdom, ready to ram the American destroyer, convinced they'd damage or sink it. They were wrong. The Mason's 25mm chain guns engaged. These are Bushmaster cannons, 200 rounds per minute, automated targeting. The guns swiveled, locked, fired. Streams of 25mm rounds tore across the water. Tracers illuminated the darkness. The first suicide boat took direct hits. 20 rounds in 3 seconds. The hull ruptured, water poured in. The boat slowed. Then the explosives detonated. Premature. The boat exploded 1,500 meters from the Mason. Harmless. The crew died achieving nothing. The second suicide boat tried evasive maneuvers, zigzag pattern, maximum speed. Useless against automated fire control. The 25mm guns tracked perfectly, compensated for movement. Maintained lock. Fired continuously. The boat shredded. 30 rounds penetrated the hull, hit the explosive payload. The boat exploded in a massive fireball. Debris rained into the strait. Another crew martyred. Another wasted sacrifice. The third suicide boat got closest. 1,000 meters. Close enough to see the destroyer's silhouette. Close enough to believe success was possible. The Mason's failing CIWS activated. Close-in weapon system. A 20mm Gatling gun, 4,500 rounds per minute, last-ditch defense but effective at close range. The phalanx locked onto the approaching boat. Fired, a stream of 20mm rounds, 75 rounds per second. The suicide boat disappeared in a storm of metal, torn apart. Sunk instantly. Explosives detonated underwater. Harmless to the Mason. The crew died within sight of their target, but never close enough to matter. At 5:07 a.m., the engagement ended. 15 minutes from first launch to last kill. 40 Iranian boats destroyed. 293 Revolutionary Guard fighters dead. 0 boats reached weapon range. 0 explosives hit the USS Mason. 0 anti-ship missiles fired successfully. 0 American casualties. 0 American ships damaged. The most one-sided engagement in the Strait of Hormuz's modern history. Iran's attempt to close the strait failed completely, catastrophically, and the world watched. Total weapons expended by U.S. forces: approximately 60 105mm howitzer rounds, 330mm cannon rounds, 150 25mm chain gun rounds, 15 5-inch naval gun shells, 3 ESSM missiles, 200 phalanx rounds. Total cost, approximately $400,000. Iranian losses, 40 boats at $50,000 each. 293 trained fighters, 5 C-704 missiles at $300,000 each. 3 suicide boat explosive payloads, training costs, operational planning, total, approximately $4.7 million, plus strategic humiliation, priceless. Subscribe to Navy Force right now if you want more tactical breakdowns of how combined arms operations dominate asymmetric threats. We analyze real combat with the depth you deserve. Hit that subscribe button. The strategic implications rippled across the Middle East immediately. Iran's Revolutionary Guard had promised to close the Strait of Hormuz if threatened. They tried. They failed. Spectacularly. Every boat destroyed, every fighter killed. The strait remained open. Tankers continued transiting. Oil kept flowing. Iran's threats proved empty. Their asymmetric warfare tactics proved useless against coordinated American air-sea power. The credibility damage was catastrophic. The tactical lessons were brutal. First, swarm tactics require communication and coordination. U.S. electronic warfare stripped the Iranians of both. 40 boats became 40 individual targets, easy to prioritize, easy to engage, easy to destroy. Without coordination, numbers are meaningless. The IRGC learned this the hardest way possible, through complete annihilation. Second, combined arms multiply effectiveness exponentially. The AC-130 engaged distant targets. The destroyer engaged medium-range threats. The close-in weapons handled anything that got near. Each system covered the other's weaknesses, created overlapping fields of fire. No gaps, no vulnerabilities. The Iranians had no answer, could not exploit weakness because no weakness existed. Third, technology defeats courage every time. The Iranian fighters were brave, willing to die, committed to their mission. Their courage was never in question, but courage cannot defeat radar-guided weapons, cannot penetrate automated fire control, cannot overcome thermal sensors that see incomplete darkness. The technology gap was infinite, and it showed in the casualty figures, 293 to 0. Fourth, suicide tactics are just suicide. The 3 explosive boats achieved nothing. Killed no enemies, damaged no ships, just died pointlessly. Martyrdom without effect. The crews believed they'd damage American naval power. Instead, they became target practice. Their sacrifice meant nothing strategically, nothing tactically. Just 3 more boats added to the 40 destroyed. 3 more crews killed for no gain. The cost-benefit analysis is devastating. Iran invested 8 months planning, $4.7 million in resources, 293 trained fighters, operational security, logistics, command coordination, all for nothing. 0 American casualties, 0 ships damaged. The strait remained open, commercial shipping unaffected. U.S. Navy operations continued normally. Iran's massive operation achieved literally nothing except proving American superiority. The United States spent $400,000 in ammunition, 15 minutes of combat operations, routine fuel and operational costs, and achieved complete victory. Destroyed all 40 boats, killed all attackers, protected commercial shipping, demonstrated that the strait cannot be closed, not by Iran, not by anyone, not while American naval power operates in the region. The return on investment was infinite, total success for minimal cost. Regional allies noticed immediately. Saudi Arabia had worried about Iranian closure of the strait, saw the August 14th engagement, realized American protection was real, not theoretical, actual. The Saudis requested expanded military cooperation within days, more coordination, more exercises, more American presence, because American presence means Iranian impotence. The UAE noticed. They depend on Hormuz for oil exports. Iranian threats were economic terrorism, but the engagement proved those threats were hollow. Iran cannot close the strait, cannot threaten tankers effectively, cannot challenge American naval power. The UAE accelerated economic planning, expanded production, increased exports, confidence restored by 15 minutes of American firepower. Kuwait noticed. They're vulnerable to Iranian aggression. Small country, large oil reserves. The engagement demonstrated that American defense commitments have teeth, real capability, real willingness to use force. Kuwait signed new defense agreements within 2 weeks. More American military presence, more security cooperation, more confidence in regional stability. Israel noticed. They face Iranian proxies throughout the region, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, but the engagement showed Iran's military capabilities are overstated, inflated by propaganda. Their vaunted swarm tactics failed catastrophically. Their asymmetric warfare doctrine proved useless. Israel's strategic calculations changed. Iran is weaker than claimed, more vulnerable than admitted, more defeatable than assumed. Was Iran's attack doomed from the start, or could different tactics have succeeded? Type A if you think they never had a chance. Type B if you think better coordination might have worked. Leave your analysis in the comments. The international shipping industry responded immediately. Insurance rates for Hormuz transits dropped. Lloyd's of London revised risk assessments. Shipping companies increased traffic through the strait. Oil prices stabilized. The global economy benefited directly from 15 minutes of American naval firepower. Sometimes, military action creates immediate economic value. August 14th was one of those times. Iran's propaganda response was desperate. State media barely mentioned the engagement. Acknowledged defensive operations against foreign aggression. Claimed significant damage inflicted on enemy forces. Provided zero evidence. Because no evidence existed. The USS Mason sailed away undamaged. The AC-130 returned to base with ammunition to spare. The SEALs exfiltrated successfully. Only Iranian bodies floated in the strait. Only Iranian boats littered the seafloor. The propaganda couldn't hide reality. Not when debris fields were visible from shore. But Iranian military bloggers told the truth. Posted survivor accounts, described the massacre, the boats exploding one after another, the impossible accuracy of American weapons, the futility of fighting against sensors that see in darkness, against guns that never miss, against coordination that allows no gaps. The accounts spread before sensors could stop them. The Iranian public learned what really happened. 40 boats sent, 0 returned. 293 men deployed, 0 survived. Total failure. Complete annihilation. The IRGC Naval Command underwent purges after August 14th. Officers who planned the operation were removed, some arrested, some disappeared. Scapegoats for strategic failure, but the real failure wasn't planning. It was capability. Iran lacks the technology to challenge American naval power, lacks the training to coordinate complex operations under fire, lacks the equipment to penetrate American defenses. No amount of officer replacement fixes those fundamental gaps. Commander Mitchell received commendation from the Chief of Naval Operations. Her crew performed flawlessly. Textbook anti-swarm defense, perfect weapon employment, 0 mistakes. The Mason's combat effectiveness validated years of training, thousands of hours drilling, millions of dollars in realistic exercises. When actual combat came, the crew executed automatically. No hesitation, no confusion, just professional destruction of enemy forces. That's the standard the U.S. Navy maintains. That's why they win. The AC-130 crew received similar recognition. Their precision engagement from altitude demonstrated the gunship's unique capabilities. No other aircraft can provide that level of close air support. That accuracy, that firepower, that persistence. Hammer 21 orbited for 4 hours that night. engaged targets for 15 minutes, then stayed overhead for 3 more hours, watching, ready, ensuring no follow-up attacks. That endurance plus lethality makes the AC-130 irreplaceable. The SEAL teams exfiltrated 48 hours after the engagement. Extracted by helicopter from pre-positioned locations, their intelligence enabled the entire operation, provided targeting data, laser designation, real-time updates. Without the SEALs on the ground, the engagement would have been messier, more difficult, less efficient. Their contribution was critical. As always, silent professionals enabling spectacular results. If you found this tactical breakdown valuable, like this video right now. Share it with anyone interested in modern naval warfare and combined arms operations. Subscribe to Navy Force for daily analysis you won't find anywhere else. Hit that notification bell. The Strait of Hormuz remains open. Tankers transit daily. Oil flows normally. Commercial shipping operates without interference, because on August 14, 2025, the United States demonstrated what happens when Iran tries to close this strategic choke point. 40 boats destroyed. 300 fighters killed. 15 minutes of precision annihilation. 0 American losses. That lesson resonates. That demonstration deters. That capability ensures the strait stays open regardless of Iranian threats. Iran's Revolutionary Guard promised to control the strait, promised to threaten American warships, promised to disrupt global oil supplies. They tried. They failed. The USS Mason sailed through their ambush like it didn't exist. The AC-130 turned their attack into target practice. The coordination between destroyer, gunship, and SEALs created overwhelming combat power that Iranian tactics couldn't overcome. Technology plus training plus coordination equals dominance. The Iranians learned that August 14th. Through fire, through death, through complete tactical failure. This engagement will be studied in military academies for decades. The coordination, the sensor integration, the weapon employment, the rules of engagement. How American forces identified hostile intent, engaged decisively, achieved total victory, with minimal ammunition expenditure, maximum enemy casualties, 0 friendly losses. That's not luck. That's professional excellence. That's decades of investment in training and technology paying dividends in combat. The Strait of Hormuz remembers August 14, 2025, the night Iran tried to close the world's most important oil choke point. The night 40 boats launched thinking numbers would overwhelm American defenses. The night 293 Revolutionary Guard fighters died learning that courage without capability is just waste. The night 15 minutes of American firepower proved that the strait belongs to whoever has the better weapons, better training, and better coordination. Right now, and for the foreseeable future, that's the United States of America. Iran tried to challenge that reality. 40 boats went into the water. None came back. That's all anyone needs to know about who controls the Strait of Hormuz.